Hello guys. Welcome to our YouTube channel today. We are excited to share with you people some suspenseful couple stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. These real tales of love and betrayal are full of unexpected twists and turns, with each chapter revealing more about the complex relationships between the characters, from secret affairs to hidden agendas. The couples in these stories are anything but ordinary. As the plot unfolds, you'll be left wondering who to trust and what the ultimate outcome will be. So sit back, relax and get ready for a thrilling ride. As I tell you the suspenseful couple stories, Mr. Michel Anthony had shared his thought-provoking and life-turning story that will surely shock you and you'll be surprised. He told us that I got married to Oliver in 2018. Our married life was going good after about 1 year. We were blessed with a baby girl as well. Life was going really good, like we used to have a lot of romance and fun. That time I was working as a cashier in a bank, whereas my wife was working as a real estate agent. Life was going on smoothly. But one day, something really unexpected and unbelievable happened on Valentine's Day. As usual, I was very excited, just like previous Valentines, to surprise my wife. But that time she really behaved unusually. I remember I kept waiting for her, but she didn't read her workplace yet, even though her daughter was waiting for her mother. Well, after a load of waiting, I decided to call her. When I call her, my wife did not even pick up my call. I was just so disappointed. I remember my daughter started crying badly that time and then insisted I take her to a restaurant. Well, I decided to go with her to the same restaurant where I used to go with my wife on Valentine's Day. But as I walked into the restaurant, my heart sank. Oliver was waiting in the restaurant with another man who seemed really handsome and young. I tried to hide my shock and confusion as my wife introduced me to her friend. But I could see the guilt in her eyes. It didn't take long for me to realize that this was no friend but her fair partner. The world around me seemed to blur as the reality of what was happening hit me. My wife, the person I had loved and trusted above all else, was cheating on me. This thought was ruining my mental peace, but I wasn't able to decide whether I was thinking right or wrong about her. The pain was unbearable, and I felt as though my entire world had crumbled around me. I couldn't bring myself to confront my wife in the restaurant. Instead, I made an excuse and left, feeling lost and alone. I spent the rest of the night driving aimlessly with my daughter, trying to process what had just happened. When I reached the house at about 2 a.m. of the night, my wife was already standing outside of the house close to the gate. It seemed like she was desperately waiting for me, because as soon as she found me coming, I remember how she hugged me strongly. I didn't ask anything from her, but my wife began to give me an explanation by making excuses and apologizes. But the damage had already been done in my heart. I was really very disappointed that my wife didn't prefer me in the Valentine's Day. Well, I didn't give any response to my wife and moved his night and moving inside. I found our bedroom fully decorated. My wife appeared in front of me and began to seduce me by wearing hot lingerie. I was not giving her a slight response. My wife then began to shed her crocodile tears and said that she was with her friend in the restaurant that time because, according to her, as a real estate agent, she was dealing with him regarding a plot. Well, I then took a deep breath and regretted that I thought really bad about my wife. Everything became normal again. Like the next morning when I woke up, my wife was baking my favorite cheesecake. To be honest, I used to trust my wife a lot that I had not suspected her before. In spite of having a lot of red flags and clues, I had not ever thought that my wife was ditching me. That bitch really deceived me one day. An unexpected event occurred when, while I remember it was a Saturday night, I decided to have a movie night with my wife because a few days back, both of us were really busy with our work. I was really very excited for that day. Like I remember I bought some popcorn and other snacks for my wife as well. I was very excited to spend time with my wife, but my wife behaved so awkward and perplexed that night. I remember my wife was sitting with me in the TV room when we both were watching the TV room, but her eyes were continuously on her phone. It seemed like my wife was having a deep conversation with someone on the phone. As the moment we progressed by, I was continuously noticing that my wife was not actually a bit engaged. I glanced over and was disappointed to see my wife's eyes glued to her mobile phone. I tried to ignore it at first. But as the movie went on, I couldn't help but feel annoyed. I wondered who could be more important than their date night together. After a while I couldn't take it anymore and decided to ask my wife what was so important on her phone. I remember how my wife quickly closed the messaging app on her phone, but I had already seen it. I was devastated to see that my wife was chatting with someone else. My heart sank as I realized that my wife was definitely doing something wrong with me. I tried my best to remain calm and I asked my wife to explain. She tried to deny it at first, but eventually she manipulated and lied to me that she was discussing some work matters with her coworker. Obviously, I was really disappointed with my wife's response to me in the TV room, but I didn't say anything to her. I remember that night I wasn't able to sleep properly because of a severe headache. Instead of asking me about my health, the way my wife responded was really heartbreaking. When she found me awake due to a headache, she seemed restless, not because of my pain, but for the fact that she wanted to talk to her fair partner and was waiting for the time when I would fall asleep. My wife even didn't ask me to take medicine instead. She said that I was ruining her sleep by sneezing. She was never like that before. In fact, she used to be very caring and beautiful. That time. Literally, my pain doubled because of my wife's unexpected and heartbreaking behavior. Well, I finally hit the sack after finally taking the medicine at about 12 a.m. But the same night, my eyes opened because of sweating. Well, when I woke up, my wife was still awake and was using her mobile phone. I remember her dully smile while using the screening time. Her eyes were literally shining that time. It seemed like she was talking to her fair partner. I then called my wife's name. After finding me awake, she became so confused like a fish out of water. I remember how she began to hide her mobile phone. And then without my asking, my wife began to give me an explanation that she was chatting with her friend who is based in America. I was damn sure that she was speaking alive at me because she was so confused at that time that she wasn't even able to look into my eyes. My wife's activities were getting more and more strange day by day. I was literally so dumb that I had always trusted my wife and never once suspected that she could be cheating on me. Even for the past few weeks, my wife had been coming home late from work, making excuses and being distant. Our physical relationship became really weak because my wife wasn't used to bring in mood. I knew something was off but couldn't put my finger on it. I tried to talk to my wife but she always brushed me off saying that she was just busy with work. One day, I decided to surprise my wife at her office with a bouquet of flowers. However, when I arrived, I saw someone that shattered my world. My wife was leaving the office with a man whom I had seen before with her in the Valentine's Day. They both were holding hands and laughing. My heart sank as I realized that my worst fear had come true. I followed them secretly and saw them enter a fancy restaurant. I was heartbroken. But I knew I had to confront my wife about her fear. When my wife come home that night, I was waiting for her. I asked her straight out if she was seeing someone else. My wife was shocked and tried to deny it, but I already knew the truth. I told her that what I had seen and how it had made me feel. At first, my wife remained quiet because obviously she had nothing to say. But later she again gave me the same excuse that it was her friend who was his customer, to whom she was selling a plot as a real estate agent. My wife was such a kind person that she wasn't ready to confess what she was doing. She used to tell a lie every time with me. I became angry with her because obviously it was very difficult to accept her with that person. Every time I was so hurt, but I loved my wife and wanted to work things out. We talked for hours and my wife promised to end things or deal with her friend. I became very happy and relaxed after hearing this from my wife. One day when I reached the office, I came to know that administration that I got a chance to visit Canada as an employee. There was no place of happiness. But I was sad at the same night because I didn't want my family to stay alone in the house. I remember when I told my wife about my love, she became very excited and happy. She was in high favor of going to Canada. I was so happy to know that my wife was so cooperative and my well-wisher. But then later I realized that she wanted me to get out of the house so that she might invite her fair partner in our house in my absence. I remember how my wife behaved with me. When I reached Canada, she literally stopped picking up my phone calls. Her response was really unforgettable. After 10 days, I came to know from my administration that I got free from the tour and allowed to go back. I really wanted to surprise my wife. So I didn't tell her anything about my revival and did not give her a single clue. When I reached the house after 10 days and went to my bedroom, I was shocked to see my wife in an inappropriate condition along with her fair partner. That was the same person to whom my wife used to call her friend who was Hilo customer. When she found me in front of her, she began to sweat. She was literally shivering. That time, there was no place for my anger. I started curling with that person. And after getting great fight, that person left our house. I remember my wife was bloody badly. That time. She then said to me that she was just entertaining that person so that he might buy that plot. I was just tired of my wife's lies. I gave her 2 options. One to buzz off or stay with me, but leave the job of real estate agent. She agreed with me and left her job. He was living peacefully and my wife again became responsible. When one day I came to know that my wife's pregnancy, I became happy and excited for once. But then I decided to have her tested secretly because I wanted to know who is the biological father of that baby in her womb. But those tests were not possible till the baby's delivery. One day, I caught my wife talking to her fair partner and telling him that she was carrying his baby in her womb. After listening to her, my feet frozen. I divorced her. I was just giving her so many chances and she was just testing my patience a bit. That day everything ended. I even took my daughter's custody. Last night, I received a message from her where she told me that her fair partner had left her and stolen her savings. She was begging me to allow her to stay with me again because according to her now she's 8 months pregnant where abortion is impossible. She further requested to accept her and asked for another chance. What should